Thank you. Thank you, Alec. And hello, everyone. It's, I believe, 10:33 over here in the UK. I'm going to start the presentation and let's get going. So hopefully you can see my screen and I'll begin. So today I'm doing a talk on creating a great voice experience. And who am I? Well, like Alex says, I'm Ilarna Nche, and I am the founder of Adasa Innovations. And we basically innovate technology. And at the moment, we're innovating voice. So I have a background in software engineering, on mobile, web, and voice development. And in my voice journey, which started nearly 4 years ago, I've managed to become an Alexa champion, Alexa certified developer, and a Bixby partner. And I've built across the different platforms over 100 different voice apps. And I've won hackathons and awards for my contribution in voice. But now I collaborate with other brands and companies to deliver voice experiences. So I wanted to kick it off and show you what my first ever app was, which was Odds On. And basically this was a simple interaction design where Alexa would pick a random number from 1 to 5, and then you would count down from 3. And as the user, you would try and pick a number from 1 to 5 and not match with Alexa. And if you did match with Alexa, then you would do a forfeit. And that was the basic interaction. And I wanted to clarify here that obviously this was a trend that was going on at the time, and I had the opportunity to learn how to build skills without doing the normal fact skills. As you can see, the logo is very ugly. And I mean, at the time, I thought it wasn't. So I realized I do have a weakness in graphics design, but this is where it started. And trust me, I've evolved from that. So it's important to note that I came into voice with no prior knowledge. So it's definitely been a learning curve for me. So early mistakes. I found that as I was, especially in my first year, I was editing live skills. I had no awareness of the whole production and development process, which is very, very necessary, whether you have different hosts such as Lambda functions, or if you're going to use the aliases in a Lambda function. And I also didn't have a test plan either. I was kind of just winging it as I went along. And that kind of fell to some difficulties, as there would be lots of errors and asynchronous testing problems and issues. And I didn't get people to try my app. So that was one thing I definitely felt. I would just submit it. Maybe it was just for the swag. I was going for quantity over quality. And that was mainly just to kind of identify and test the waters of what people liked. But I also didn't put into effort the admin side. I thought with it being a voice app, I would just get people would just find the app, and it doesn't really matter what the logo looks like or what the text looks like and everything like that. So, and obviously the logos as well, they looked horrible, as you saw from the first example. So yeah, in terms of planning, it's all about writing down your ideas. I found that even if they're crazy or overly ambitious, you shouldn't ever cross them out. There's an idea, write it down. For me, I didn't think about limitations with the features and stuff, because I knew that there'd be a time eventually when I could actually execute my ideas. So that's why I always kept them in mind. And then I'd say, look for problems and create the solution. I mean, you should observe your everyday life and see how it could be improved with a voice experience. And if you can make it even more efficient or more productive. There's so many examples of startups and founders who found an issue and a problem and found a solution. The perfect example is the founder of Ring, Jamie Simoff. His idea actually came from him not being able to see the delivery guy at the front door while he was in his garage. So because he couldn't hear his doorbell, and that's how Ring kind of came about. And another example in the voice space, a fellow Alexa champion, Nick Swabs from Invoked Apps, he designed his sound skills, his sleep sound skills, because of his noisy neighbor. So there you go. They found problems and created a solution for it. And then in terms of identifying trends in the market, as you know, on different voice apps, sound apps are very popular. And you can see that with like the white noise or the sound bites or the ambient sounds. And so I feel like voice and sound and audio is very strong in those retrospect. And in terms of looking at other top apps and, you know, reading the reviews, it can create useful feedback. I know that when I was creating Music Bop Adventures, which is a kid skill of mine that I created where kids can learn through movement and enhance their imagination, I would constantly get reviews not to like loop the tracks. And what I would do is I'd take that advice on board, and then it kind of made customers more happy, I guess. And then the same with Riddle Time, which is a riddle skill of mine. I would get feedback about pronunciation issues and speech recognition, which some of it is out of my control, but I noticed there's a pattern and a trend of loads of people talking about it. So I had to research and figure out how I could fix that and apply it to the app. And now I don't really see any more issues on the problem. So it's very important. And then looking at other platforms, why not like look at mobile and see what you could bring across from mobile that hasn't been applied in voice already. And then finally, find a USP, a unique selling point that would make your voice app stand out from the others. What is that like use case that people would pick over your app? So where are voice apps found? Well, technically anywhere with an internet connection, smart speakers, mobiles, hearables, wearables, and even in the car. And more companies are actually adopting these assistants in their products. When creating an experience, you need to think about the use case and the demographic, and also more importantly, where people are likely to invoke the experience. I mean, mobile would have a totally different experience than cars. People are trying to concentrate whilst they're driving, so you shouldn't be drowning them with information because they won't be fully focused. We also need to move away from creating experiences just for the smart speakers. I mean, at the moment, I know when I'm building, I still think about smart speakers because I know that's where the majority of my audience would invoke my apps. But with hearables and wearables, there's a totally different new market with that. And Samsung, Bixby have a whole like catalog of products. So the opportunities are endless. And we all have like other places that users are likely going to interact with voice from a third party perspective. And to make it a good experience, we need to adapt to those environments. And in the automaker industry, we're hearing that General Motors and Google are teaming up to install their own voice assistant. And Amazon have launched their Alexa custom assistant so that car makers can have their own voice assistants in the car. And also Apple are adopting a similar approach as well. So if that's telling you anything, the car is a hotspot to build for. You need to find a great use case in the car, and that is where voice would be the most useful, hands-free. So in terms of content is key. It's one of the fundamentals for creating a great voice experience. How do I know? Well, people were actually bypassing my ugly logos to use my apps, and they were coming back. And when you're building apps, you need that good content. You have engaging content just by having a variety. And for example, with a quiz skill, you should have different questions, and the user shouldn't have to hear the same questions all the time. If facts, there should be lots of facts so that people are always learning something new. And content should always have some sort of purpose. What do you want the user to get from this content? Updating content keeps the user coming back because they want to get more. And gamifications, even if you're not working on a game, there are still many effective things you can do to increase retention and engagement. Duolingo is an app that I use every day now. I think I've got a play streak of 169 days, and it keeps me coming back. Why? Well, because I get to learn something new, which is Spanish. Hola, español, yo hablo español. I have different lessons to complete. There's leaderboards with promotions and demotions, so I don't want to have to get demoted, so I'll continue playing so that I win. And right now I'm on the Diamond League, which is the highest league, and I've worked so hard to get there. So I don't want to be demoted back again. So it encourages me to use the app even more, because the more lessons I play, the more points I get. And in terms of personalization, you should personalize your experience so that users feel great. It's so much better saying, "Hi, Ilarna, how are you?" instead of saying, "Hi, how are you?" That one word can make such a difference to the experience. Deliveroo, which is something that I've been using a lot in lockdown, and it's kind of like Grubhub and DoorDash. It's the reason why this is the reason why they do so well as well, is because they use data to see what I've liked, what I've eaten, and whenever I go on the app, they know to push the restaurant that they think I would be more converted to. So they push me creams, which is the like dessert place, and I'm more likely to order something because of it. But that's a whole nother talk on psychology. So using the data effectively is another one. Then streaming services are very good at presenting data. I mean, everyone is different at the end of the day. So what they do, they offer you and recommend you different things. My most important piece of content information is that you need to be culturally aware of the content. America and the UK, we may have like speak the same language, but we're so different. You can call something soccer over here in the UK and we won't have it. Two places that speak the same language are very different, but imagine two places that speak different languages. So make sure that you're very culturally aware of the content. In terms of resources, you need to make money to spend money, but you don't need to make that much to create a good voice experience. So, in terms of logos and assets, you can go to Fiverr, Upwork, all these freelancing sites, even using university students who specialize in topics. For localization and translations, I use Fiverr because they're cost effective. And you can see how they've worked with other people through reviews or even talking to them. And in terms of images, Pixabay is a great site because it provides commercially free images. You don't have to worry about copyright. And also sound is so important now, especially with making that engagement and really enhancing the experience. So I wanted to just quickly talk about the logos, because something for me that I've realized is just how important it is that people should put more time into logos, because as the more apps are being created, the UX can't save you alone. You're competing against all these other apps and you need to stand out. And they're just so important. So I got my friend that I know from university to start redesigning my logos. And as you can see from the left, that's what they used to look like. And then from the right is what my friend Leanne, who's a talented graphic designer, has done. And just to show you just how effective they are, the talking dog skill, which is at the bottom, that logo changed, created some extraordinary statistics. I changed the logo, I uploaded it and updated the app, and I actually got a 550.64% increase in unique customers just in the past month alone, just from that one logo change. So if is that telling you anything, that logos are a good way of attracting new people. In terms of UX, it's always try to make the experience as humanely human as possible. Obviously, these robotic voices have a monotone feel to it, so trying to make it as if the interactions are you're talking to another human, another person, makes it so much better. You should look for shortcuts. A user is asking for something, they want quick returns, and interactions shouldn't be too long. If I can do it quicker on my phone, then I failed. So definitely find ways to make it shorter. And in terms of monetizing, are you offering something that is worth monetizing? I normally monetize from the beginning, from first launch. If it's a subscription, then I update the content so that people keep subscribing. And obviously, if it's one-time purchase, then I don't need to frequently change. But you can't change certain things with a large consumer base. In terms of a testing plan, you need to have that prepared as well. because then you can find different user journeys and different user journey interactions. If you're looking at different use cases, then having that testing plan will prepare you for that. And in terms of building the actual device, you can use Jovo, which is cross-platforming. It's a great site if you want to build for different platforms. And then you've got VoiceFlow. If you don't want to code, then VoiceFlow is there, another great platform to use. And then if you want to use the native Alexa SDK, the Google Actions Builder, or even Samsung Bixby Studio, if you wanted to build natively. So just my last slide on discovery, which is, I feel the most important thing is, I found that in terms of making your app bigger than it is going viral, using social media. It's amazing that on TikTok, that Alexa tag has about 2.6 billion tags, which means people are actively using it. So why not advertise and market your app on there? Social media is another great tool. You've got people like Seth Rogen talking about Alexa as well. And in terms of word of mouth and advertising, Facebook ads is a great way to get that more awareness and raise awareness. So, and just to recap, just find a great idea, outsource to experts, think of engaging content, get as many people as you can to test, and have a great marketing plan. And last but not least, enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And I love the stats, how a logo made a 500% difference on a voice skill. That was absolutely not intuitive to me. And I'm really glad that we've learned that. We did have a question coming in from Victor. He's new to voice app development, and he was curious, should he actually focus on the native platform SDKs, or just start with something like Jovo to go across them? Like, kind of what are the pros and cons of doing one versus the other?
Muted. Yeah, I think obviously building natively means you have access to the features quicker. I guess with Jovo, it's great because you don't have to code for 3 different platforms. So you cut the time by so much more efficiently. But in saying that, if you want to, you should definitely try Jovo, because if you want to build for multiple platforms, if you want to start with one, then pick one.
Great, thank you. What's the biggest mistake you see happening that people are running into? It could be either in the design, the development, or even just the overall process.
I think it's definitely the design. I always say, out of everything, design is the most important and efficient, especially when you start off planning. That it's so crucial to make sure that you have a good plan to design with. So if you're thinking about, for example, making a game, and you don't have that initial design of how you want to interact with the audience, then you've already lost them. You need to make sure that you know the demographic, and you need to also make sure how you're going to talk to them as well. So it's very important to understand that the demographic and where you think they'll be using it is what you think about first.
Great, thank you. Another question, do you think we should always make voice experiences more human? Are there times where it's best to not have something replicate like a human tendency?
I think as we're getting more and more towards the future and with robots, I think that's all that people will be thinking about. I mean, we see in movies and media, as more people consume these things, they're going to be expecting that in the real world. So I definitely think it should take that direction, but we still need to understand and recognize that it is an AI at the end of the day. Maybe not making it too humane in terms of the physical features.
What about not just the notion of, I guess, conversational, but verbosity? Like at what point would you just want to get things done and have like a little chime or something versus, hi, great to see you today. Isn't it nice outside? Like, I guess part of it's also where you're from, whereas sometimes you just want to go to the store and get things, and sometimes the cashier chats you up.
So yeah, I think especially now, I think a bit of conversation won't hurt. But saying that, I know on the Google device, instead of wanting to hear them say, okay, turning off the lights, you want that little chime. I think it depends, like you said, on how often you say the command. So turning off the lights would be a great use case to just have a chime. And then for other things, it would be nice to hear a varied answer or response.
Okay, well, we'll take two more questions and then we have to go. Do you have any recommendations for languages other than English in terms of either frameworks or kind of any skills you've made that have become popular in other countries, like translations, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely Germany, and Spain. Obviously, I'm learning Spanish, not just obviously to watch Money Heist, the final season, but also because I know Spain has a whole, uh, so many people out there. But I know that, as I said, you have to learn about the country and culture as well. So definitely take that into account. So yeah, but Germany is another great place to start off with. I recommend definitely localizing your apps.
Great, thank you. And our last question, how much importance do you place on user research, or is this a very novel space and more opportunity driven?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
How much importance do you place on user research for voice skills, or is this just such a novel space that's very much like opportunity driven?
Especially user research is so important now. Everyone is different. So that's why at the start it was kind of experiment, try out different things, but you really see that everyone is so different, and you need to not just group people in certain categories, but actually talk to loads of people, meet loads of people, observe loads of people, and see how they react to different things, because you have to convert this experience to suit the masses, but in a way, like I said, with personalization, make it engaging in a sense.